Hello, my name is Ben and welcome to the first ever episode of the Globetrotters Playbook. And this tale starts with a bit of cricket. My dad and I were at the last day of the final Ashes test between England and Australia. Not unusually, England was staring down the barrel of certain defeat. Whilst the players took an early lunch because of rain, we had a decision to make. Stay and face the prospect of thousands of crowing Aussies, or leave early. After all, I was heading off on holiday the next morning and felt that my time would be better spent pretending to help with the packing. Well, we took the latter option, and 3 hours later I arrived home, only to find that England had demolished the Aussie batting and were poised to take the honours in one of the most remarkable finishes to a test match in history. The final wicket fell as I searched for my holiday pants. It was at this moment that the idea for the Globetrotters Playbook podcast began to take shape. Travel with a touch of sport. And where better to start than Menorca, seeing as that was where I was heading off within a few hours. But who should I speak to? Well, I'd been made aware of the Menorca Cricket Club after hearing about them on a radio broadcast that summer, and I felt that a lazy Saturday at their ground was a pretty good way to spend a day's holiday, and so it proved. I spoke to club chairman Dan Osterbury. We covered the history of the club, the obstacles they face, such as getting hold of players and the problems posed by Brexit, famous players who've graced their pitch, and much more. But if you want to know about the travel side of things, then fast forward to Dan's top tips at around the 12-minute mark.
Menorca Cricket Club was started in 1985 by expats. It started in Salgar in Menorca, and then in 1991 we bought a ground in a place called Biniparel. And I know you can't see the walls, but all of these stones that make up the walls were actually in the ground. And it took us, well, it didn't take, I wasn't here at that stage, but it took the guys that did it about a year and a half to clear all the stones so we could actually start playing cricket.
Yeah, around the outfield, I don't know, about 8 foot high dry stone walls essentially, and there is an awful lot of it, so it goes to show how much must have been cleared. And the pitch itself is absolutely beautiful, wonderfully green, verdant, I think some people would say. How much work goes into keeping the pitch, the wicket, looking this good? Obviously the wicket itself is actually artificial turf, so not so much that, but the rest of it.
It's a county standard artificial wicket, which is actually, it has a bump mat underneath it, so it plays pretty true. But we're very lucky. We have a great groundsman, Graham, who is down here every day. And we have an underwater sprinkler system with 9 different zones and 12 sprinklers that pop up overnight to try and keep it green, because obviously it's a battle against the heat here.
Indeed. So could you give me a bit more about the history, how the club got started, why it got started? Do you know anything along those lines?
Yeah, it was started by expats who wanted to play cricket here. You know, they persevered. And initially they were playing on a football pitch, and then they all realised that wasn't going to be sustainable, and they all clubbed together and bought this ground, which is actually owned by the members.
What do the locals think of it? Do you get any local interest? Do they ever come along and play?
We are starting to. We do. There's a summer club called Esmoli the Bash, and that is local school children, and we do a couple of days with them. And we do a sort of 10 to 12-year-olds and then a 14 to 16-year-olds. And we do that twice a year. And that has actually produced 3 or 4 young players that you saw playing today. Like Jamie, there's another Spanish guy called Filippo, and a new chap called Nico who's just started, who's 12. He's half Brazilian, half Menorcan. And we have a young chap called Nico who's 11, he came to the sessions this year and really enjoyed it, and Jamie and Filippo now play for us on Sundays, and we're hoping that we'll get Nico playing for us, because that is one of our problems, is we don't, we're all over 50.
Yeah.
So we're desperately looking to, get the kids section going. That's why we do the summer cricket. But sadly, a lot of those kids who are very talented, as you can see today, go back to England in September, back to school. So.
Are there any particular issues about playing cricket in Menorca that you could tell me about? What are the obstacles here?
Well, there aren't really many obstacles. There is a sort of slight lack of funding because obviously cricket wasn't played very much in Spain, and that's not the case now because Cricket España has formed its own group, and the next step for them, which hopefully will happen when they have enough clubs, is to form a federation, and that will be really great for us because we don't play in a league, but we do play the Balearic Cup every year, which is between Menorca and Ibiza, and if we're federated, then they'll pay for our flights to go, which will be good.
So tell me about that rivalry. Is it pretty big?
It's massive. It's absolutely massive. Ibiza and Menorca are the small islands.
Yeah.
And we generally scratch around for players. And Mallorca are the big island, have quite a good depth of players. And I'm not sure of the stats of who's won more, but I know it's very close. But Ibiza are the current holders.
Yeah, what kind of level are we talking about here? Obviously not county cricket, I presume. Is it good club cricket? What would you say?
I mean, Ibiza have got a couple of guys that have played for Holland. And they are fantastic cricketers and normally get a ton. It's quite a good standard, actually. It's quite a good standard. We have a couple of ex-league players who are quite good. And we have had some fantastic players over the years, but currently we're all quite old.
What about getting kit into the island? I believe that can be a bit of an issue.
Since Brexit, that has been an absolute nightmare, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, because obviously there's nowhere really in Spain or anywhere in Europe we can find that sells cricket gear, so it has to come from the UK. And obviously since Brexit, this is the first time we've imported kit, and we ordered it in February. It was sent at the end of February, and it took 3.5 months to clear customs.
Wow.
They had to open the pallet of materials, and then we needed to they sent photos so that they could identify what pads were, and we had to find the tax code for each item.
Goodness me.
So it was a lot of hard work. But hopefully we've ordered enough for the next 3 years, so hopefully we'll see out my tenure as chairman and we don't have to do it again.
So when individuals, say, go between the UK and here, do you ask them to bring back certain bits of equipment? A box in their package?
That would be smuggling, so...
of course, yeah, sorry. So I'll ask you that secretly. Of course, they don't do that. There you go. That shows my ignorance of the rules of smuggling and piracy.
We had a scorer for the last 25 years called Jenny Nuttall who did...
Don't name her! What are you doing?
who did an amazing job and multicoloured scoring and everything else. But sadly, she decided to retire just before the season started. And we've ordered a electronic scoreboard that runs from that tablet.
Wow.
So that hopefully that will be here for September when we resume the season. So
you have plenty of teams from all over the UK touring here as well. Give me a bit more information about that. I presume it's it's incredibly sought after to come over here for a few days.
Well, we don't just have teams from the UK. We've had teams from Canada. We've had teams from Holland. Our first fixture in September is a team called Trip Tower Knockers, who are from Berlin.
Did they tell you they were called that?
No, that is their name. That is their name. And I'm not 100% on this, but I think they are from the English Quarter in Berlin.
Okay.
And have a very long history.
Yeah.
But apparently they're a very strong side, so we're quite scared of them coming.
Now, do you ever have any famous players over here? I think I know about Henry Blofeld, the famous commentator, who's a big fan of the Menorca Cricket Club.
He now has a house on the island and loves coming down, and he's going to do a spot of... We've just started streaming the games, which are available on YouTube. Bit of a plug. And he's going to, in September, do some commentary for us.
Oh, wow.
Which will be the official launch, so we're all very much looking forward to that.
No red double-decker buses going past, sadly, although you do have the jet airplanes and nice EasyJet going past and everything. That's another question I was going to ask. Sorry, I'm going off on random tangents here. Can you see the cricket ground from the plane as you come into land?
Yes, if they're coming in from the south of the island, you can see it. Because we're not too far away from the airport.
So that's something to look out for. You might see a game going on as you come in.
If you're coming in, if you look out the right-hand side of the plane, you should see us.
Good stuff. Anyway, back from that tangent. So apart from blowers, have you ever had any kind of big-name players that have come down here for a knock, or even medium name?
Yeah, we've had Alan Lamb, we've had Roland Butcher, we've had quite a few. In June, we had a charity tournament which was raising funds for the JP21 Foundation, which is run by JP Domini, and it's all about raising money for South African children, getting them into cricket and providing grounds and things like that. And on that day we had JP Domini, Owe Shah, John Embury, Gladstone Small.
Big names there, we're not mucking about.
No, it was fantastic, and it was a really good fun day. And that was in partnership with Hagley West Watches, who's a guy that plays for us that has a watch company, who, if you're on TikTok, you'll know about Tim. And between us, we managed to raise €25,000 for JP21 Foundation.
Goodness me. Now, you're all about, again, like you said, fostering the next generation of cricketers. And I've been down here today on a Saturday, and it really was an awful lot of young cricketers playing. Can you describe to me exactly what was going on today? It wasn't a normal cricket day, was it?
No, today was utter chaos, to be honest. No, it's too hot, really, in July and August to play. Our format we play is 40 overs. So we have summer cricket. And that starts at 10:30, and it's sort of softball game for 4 to 10-year-olds. I'm not really sure what age they start with softball in UK. But if they don't play hardball or use incredibles or win balls, they play in that game. And then today we had 4 teams of 14 in a 10-over format, playing each other with a plate final and a final. So great fun.
It was nuts. By the end, you were so short of time. I think the final itself was a 6-over blast,
yes,
wasn't it?
Yeah, we lost time because there's an England rugby match coming on in a minute, so we wanted to be home for that one.
Sorry.
No, but we that's generally what we do on Wednesdays and Saturdays in July and August. Not normally as busy as that, but yeah, great fun. And there's an incredible level of cricket.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were watching too much today, but
I've watched all of it, the first ball to the last.
There's some, standard county standard kids, and we had a kid last Wednesday, and he was playing in the softball game, and he was moving the ball both ways as a spinner. Unbelievable. Really? 7 years old. What a talent.
Wow.
What a talent.
Yeah, there was some lad from his early 20s who came in just smashing the ball for 6 left, right and centre, and I nearly played. I nearly put my hand up to play, but everything was aching so badly. And when I saw that happening, it was that moment of huge relief that I didn't say I played. Goodness me, I could have been bowling those balls. It would have been horrific.
And obviously a lot of the kids that have parents have houses on the island, they've been playing in summer cricket for ages. And before my time, there was a lady called Evie Gray, who now plays in the 100, and she was in the winning team last year in the 100.
Goodness me. And it seemed to me that you had an awful lot of people coming here today who were saying to you after the game, "Oh, we'll see you next year," as if they kind of just come here every year for a few weeks, that kind of thing.
Now is the sort of, because obviously we're now into August, so the people that have been here in July, their sort of 4 weeks is up, and they will go. And then obviously you get the next lot coming in for August, which I think is why today was so busy, because you've got the last day of the sort of Julys and the first few of the August.
Now, we talk cricket. I will let you go and watch the rugby in just a moment. Thank you so much for bearing with me. But tell me a bit about your Menorcan adventure. What brought you over here? Why you've stayed? Tell me a bit about the island.
I arrived to the island in 1995. I came originally as a diving instructor, and I worked a few seasons as a diving instructor. Fell in love with the island, fell in love with a young lady, and decided to stay.
What do you think makes the island such a special place?
I don't know, it's a very sort of Marmite island. You either love it or you hate it. Some people think it's very quiet, which it isn't. Some people think there's not a lot of life and shopping and things like that. But I mean, I just love the pace of life here. And I prefer the winter to the summer, because when you've got the island to yourselves, it's just fantastic. And the water is clear, it's warm all year, the weather's fantastic. Yeah, no, I can't really envision myself living anywhere else.
Like you say, there is plenty to do. I've been here a week now, and there is this marvellous mix if you're staying in areas where it's not built up in any way whatsoever, but there is a bit of a buzz to it, and there are events that are going all the time. For example, I know for a fact that there is a fiesta going on at the moment. isn't there, Dan?
Yes,
And you're paying a little bit for this, aren't you?
There are, yes. Sadly, my home village has had its first night of the fiesta last night, which was a 5 a.m. finish, so quite tough getting through today. Lumasanes, which is just up the road from the cricket club, they have their fiesta, which will run for 3 days. We've got music festivals that were run on one of the islands in the port last year, but they've moved it this year to San Felipe, which was a castle built by the Brits. There's another music festival running in Esmeralda, which I'm going to tomorrow night to see the Crystal Fighters. So there's a lot going on. Menorca has been very strict about what it lets build, front line, no big high-rise hotels, because they've seen what's happened in Ibiza and Mallorca, and they didn't want the same thing to happen. But Menorca is, we're having our moment in the sun. Hauser and Worth, a very famous art museum, came here 2 years ago, and that's really put us on the map, and we seem to be everywhere in every magazine at the moment, and there's a lot of people on the island at the moment.
Sorry again. Finally then, if there was one piece of advice you give to someone visiting Menorca, if there's one place they should be going to, apart from here, of course, what would you say?
Well, there's loads of places to visit. It really depends what floats your boat, whether you want sort of architecture, history. The Caves of Shiroi, a nightclub into a massive cave and cliff, is quite a spectacular. There's lots of things to see on the island, lots of things to do. I came here for the sea, but boating around the island is spectacular as well.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for your time. I will now let you get back to the rugby, get to the fiesta, recover from the hangover that you acquired yesterday. You've done incredibly well to talk to me for the last 10 minutes or so. And thank you so much for your hospitality today.
No problem. Thank you very much for the chat. Cheers.
That was Dan Osterbury, chairman of the Menorca Cricket Club. The next episode of the series will focus entirely on the travel side of things in Menorca. Here's a bit of a taste. Onto the nightlife now. I'm a man in his late 40s. I've got children in their teens, and let's face it, I'm not going to be going out and strutting my funky stuff at the latest discotheques and parties, so I have no idea what the nightclub scene is like, if indeed Callum Bosch has any whatsoever. But there are, of course, bars, and some of these bars have live music going on, and one of the bars with live music going on featured a man playing bongos while singing along to a backing track of Ed Sheeran songs. You can mock, but it's a living, and there, but for the grace of God, go I. I touched on tat shops earlier, and Callum Bosch has more than its fair share of tat shops. Do not sneer at this, because for a 14-year-old girl, it's the kind of thing that can make or break a holiday. And my daughter fits into that sweeping statement. Don't ask me what she bought, or if indeed it is still in one piece. It certainly wasn't a piece of rare objet d'art, but neither was it a set of healing crystals, so I can't complain. Our accommodation there was an Airbnb, nothing too flash. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, air conditioning. Thanks for listening to the Globetrotters Playbook. You'll see links to various things that have come up in both episodes in the show notes. There are more episodes on the way, one on Madrid, one on Athens, featuring sports such as football and rugby league. Finally, remember, wherever you go, don't forget to take your balls with you. Goodbye.